In Storyville, where blues were born, there's a legend of a golden horn. A hot-lipped kid, blue-eyed and fair, who tried for a note that wasn't there. So come along Perdido Street, where the hot licks tickle dancing feet that shuffle in patent leather shoes, where Jimmy Blue Eyes blew the blues. Now, Jimmy Blue Eyes came on earth a child of hunger from his birth. He played all day around the streets of sin, and they spiked his milk with Old Tom Gin. He followed the tailgate players round when the wagons rolled through back of town, and the only prayers he ever knew were the kind of blue note trumpet blew. He talked to dice like a lover can, and he aimed for the life of a sporting man. When Jimmy Blue Eyes turned 16, he joined out Jill, a blues song queen. Jill dressed him like a special prize, this Dixie kid with the soft blue eyes. He'd 20 suits and a Stetson skimmer, a box-back coat and a diamond glimmer. A gold chain draped his fancy vest. He went first class. He was the best. Jill bounced her eyes across the green. Jill caught him as he stood to preen. She cased the famous trumpet man as prospect for her master plan. And while these schemers played their parts, Jim courted a pasteboard queen of hearts. A sure-thing player met Jim's raise with a silver horn from better days. It was solid gold to the eyes of Jim. To Jill, it was slum, a sucker's whim. The player waited Jim's decision. Both were blind to Jill's derision. The bet was in, but love was out with Jill. There'd always been a doubt. Now Hot Lips Joe, with fond attention, scored fast, without a word to mention. Jill was a chippy, that's for certain. She blew with Joe. It was exit, curtain. The kiss-off gave poor Jim a jolt. He loaded up his blue steel Colt and headed for the old jazz house to croak that double-crossing louse. Bullets sang around Joe's head. Jim killed a tourist guide instead. In the cell where Jimmy locked, steel secured, and granite blocked, he played a music rich, apart, a gift God gives a contrite heart. Long summers came, long winters went. All Jimmy's prison years were spent to reach a chord, to cut the air and blow a note that wasn't there. The sun went down in Storyville when love went out with Jim and Jill. The first war came, then Prohibition, and the district went to quick perdition. The diehards died on bathtub gin, but the music lived like hidden sin that tickled toes in northern lands with the advent of the Dixie bands. But Jimmy Blue Eyes was much alive in the year of 1935. Jim took the long road home at last. The dark and bitter days were past. From 20 years in steel and stone, he came a master, one alone. He blew it hot and low and high. He hit the fringe of heaven's sky. The throw money fell like silver rain, but Jimmy sought a different game. His trumpet clawed and tore the air in search of a note that wasn't there. The multiplying strains made naught. He couldn't reach the peak he sought.
Jimmy. Yeah, good boy, Jimmy. That's the word, Jimmy. Terrific, Jimmy. That's great, Jimmy. Just
Now show me an artist, fine or fair, who seeks that note that isn't there, and I'll show you a guy that most men ain't. He's alone in the clouds, an uncrowned saint. He killed a quart of rye each day, but it wouldn't bring the high note play. One night, a stranger offered voodoo to break a jinx and beat the hoodoo. Love and life were things apart. That high note was his very heart. If body and soul were what it cost, the game was on. The dice were tossed. Down syncopated streets of sin, Jim followed a fire that burned within. Smelled of absinthe and smoking mud. His eyes were rubies, in a manner bold, and his tail was 80-karat gold. So the Red King made a deal with him, and the secret locked inside a gem. Then with an evil art of old, Red turned that silver horn to gold. That long, elusive note was there, that most immortal anywhere. But when he blew it, come what may, he had an awful price to pay. Hot Lips Joe had just come down from a long run in Chicago town. He'd been the world's top trumpet king for 20 years come one more spring. Jill sat pat at a ringside table, sipping the amber draped in sable. Now Jimmy Blue Eyes challenged Joe to a knockdown, drag-out trumpet blow. Joe held the crowd with a master's pride, cutting his trumpet open wide. He blew till all the glass was broken. He blew so hot the joint was smoking. His horn turned inside out and curled. The last note traveled round the world. Jim took a stage and struck a stance bold for a guy with a Chinaman's chance. He warmed the hot notes, let 'em fry to a whisper tone, like strong men cry. They felt his lonely, bitter years as the horn wept soft, metallic tears. He ran the scale of man's emotions like changing tides upon the oceans. A harsh note cursed, another prayed. Have mercy, brother. I'm sore afraid. High, soft sigh of a trumpet's cry can tell what magic words can't try. For the horn sings true as it only can, unmatched by nature, bird, or man. This genius boy from a land of cotton, this disinherited, misbegotten son of a slum and sin and gin blew that scouter outside in. So Jimmy Blue Eyes hit some bars that blew out 500,000 stars. And then that never, never note went clear 10 jillion miles to heaven's ear. When it faded, died and broke, that blue-eyed kid went up in smoke. Some rounders claim they're in the know that Jimmy Blue Eyes fries below. But in New Orleans, they'll lay you odds he's playing trumpet with the gods. For a deacon man was there who preached that before the last note cut and reached the edges of eternity and died. Father, forgive me, his trumpet cried.